ahead and call this budget work session into order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Stancil,
Here?
Fitch,
Here.
Hobbs. Here.
All right. Let's go ahead and get going on this. Emily, what do you got?
Okay.
Oh, yes, thank you. All right, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, aye. Motion passes. Okay, we're in, and this is the budget fund balance that Emily just handed out to us, so.
Okay, before you dive into that, a couple of things I will say is that is just me going one pass through all of this stuff. So to say there's not an error in there is probably an inaccurate statement, okay? So that's the first thing. The second thing is we don't have everybody's increases based on all of the union negotiations and stuff like that, okay?
Okay.
The big things to note is obviously home health, that $230-ish thousand is now out of the budget. The ambulance, that $200,006 that was in the budget, that is gone now as well. Right, Brady, you don't want this.
No, I don't need
We weren't
that.
budgeting for another one, right?
No, not this year. No.
So it's out of expenditures and into revenue,
No, it's
No,
out
it's
of
just
expenses.
out.
just out of
Out of
expenditures.
And then the ARPA funds are no longer, there's 50,000 roughly left in there, so.
Okay.
Those are the big hunks of money that changed the percentages in there. I would say with all of that and the fact that we checked some things and then the secondary roads transfers, that money needs to be changed based on valuations as well. That hasn't been done either, so when you look at those fund balance amounts, I would probably decrease them by 5%. Just as a place to keep in mind for all of this.
Okay.
When I entered everything, initially Solutions gave me an error. And because that error was because our growth, those levy rates that we used last year are now too high. So I had to refactor our levy rates. I did the little calculation thing, got from the DOM, did all that stuff. So the general basic permitted, we are considering our growth is 3.33143. And then the rural basic will be at 3.65279, which would be the max allowed by the new law. Okay?
Can you repeat the general basic again, please?
General basic is 3.33143. It was at 3.39806.
Okay.
So, and then the rural is now 365,279. It was 3.68932.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is what by law we have to go down to.
No,
Well,
yes
yes.
and no, that's the maximum we can do.
Yeah, the maximum. Yeah.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. All right, so I know we had some discussions Friday regarding changes. We were holding off on, you were gonna evaluate what you thought about for the construction inspector, how much we should put in the budget. And Terry, you were gonna finalize how you want to make changes to the staffing setup in your office.
Yeah.
And I know you gave that information to Emily. Is that in here already?
Yes,
Okay.
so, well, ish. So
Okay.
whatever you guys wanna do for the inspector, that situation, I didn't put anything in the budget for that.
Okay.
Didn't have numbers, so I didn't know.
It's not gonna impact it that much.
Yeah, so, well, yeah. So I didn't do anything for that.
Okay.
With the board clerk position, I was directed to eliminate that from
The supervisor's budget.
supervisor's budget, and then it will not be added into the auditor's office because they are just going to make that second deputy position one of the two part-time people, right, absorb that
Yep.
position.
Those duties, yes.
Yes. So that has been taken out.
Okay.
The other thing, when you're looking at these numbers, we did budget $100,000 for additional auditing expenses due to the treasurer's office. That is only a number, that's just what I put in because you guys told me. So could that go up 100%? So you just don't know. So when you're looking at your fund balances and stuff like that, you need to consider making sure, you know, if you dive into those too much and those percentages go down, then in a couple of years, you might have to, you know, reassess that levy rate and potentially bring that levy rate up again because you've depleted those funds. Because we don't know what expenses could be tied in with that. So that's another thing you're going to think about as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So for that, is that gonna be come out of the general basic or come out of the rural?
We put it in. Can't remember off the top of my head.
Can you split it? Can we move it back and forth?
So I know you can only do certain things out of the general supplemental, and so I guess I'm not sure 100% if it could come out of that, because I think we put it under like 65 or 4. So I put it in the general basic with $100,000.
So all out of general basic.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, I created its own line for it.
If it goes up, then can we go into the rural basic? If it gets deplete our general basic too much, can we take it on?
Is that one of the allowables for rural?
So as I look at the other lines in that audit dues, tax allocation budget, none of that comes out of the general. So I would say that would have to be looked into for sure.
And that could be done, we can evaluate it in a few months, and if we need to move it, we can do a budget amendment to move the funds, correct? Okay, so with these fund balances, this is based on, I'm looking at the percentages here and they look healthy, but this is based on the budget. You're saying we should lower these by 5%?
Just
Just
as
to be
a
safe.
safe before you make any decisions.
Okay,
Just considering, like I said, this is a lot of information to input.
Yes, I know.
So I can't say that I didn't make any mistakes in doing so. Some of the FICA IVRs and stuff like that is hard to factor when you change full-time to part-time and stuff like that. So
yeah.
there's those things to consider.
Well, and we haven't heard from the unions, so we don't know where we are there.
Yeah, we can't talk about that. Okay, so while we knock out what we talked about, what do you think, Jess, should be for the construction inspector? How much do you think we should put that in the budget?
I have no, I've asked questions, I met with Chad, I've walked the space. I need more time to understand what the concerns are,
Okay.
and if it's something that we could reasonably expect getting corrected under warranty, or if we're just gonna be stuck with what we have.
Okay.
So I don't know the answer.
So what we need to do, what we're tasked for, we have to get done definitely by the 5th is what our maximum's gonna be. So we
Right.
still have a month and a half where we can kind of massage it,
Right.
and figure it out at that point. We just need to tell the Department of Management what our maximum is gonna be. So, I mean,
And
these,
that's what I was just trying to calculate, and reduce it by 5%, as like Emily had recommended, right? These total revenue funds.
Well, the percentages is what I was.
she was talking about the percentages on the right. So on the right,
Okay.
do you wanna go ahead, can we explain, because this is her first time, and explain to her how to read this document?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
those balances, you're always trying to have 20 to the money in those accounts are what get us through the timeframes that we're not receiving large amounts of revenue. So obviously during tax payment time, these funds become larger. During, this period of time, it's kind of a slower time for our revenue. So money has to be in there to float that time frame. You also need money in those accounts, say, I don't know, one of the cars has a major issue and it has to get fixed, right? We have to have a sheriff car or whatever, and they come to you and say, oh gosh, this is gonna be $20,000 additional dollars, we have to fix it. So it can come out, you have to do a budget amendment at that point, saying we're gonna take these funds out. The pros and cons of budget amendments is if you do a lot of them, it's mostly expenses, then you're taking from your savings, right? And so then you're not replenishing those savings up. And so the next year you go and look at those funds and then you look at your levy rate, and if you get below certain percentages, that's when you potentially could have to say, oh, we need a higher levy rate to build those funds back up again. So that's kind of the quick tutorial on those.
So Emily, we know that secondary road transfers has not been done yet. They're gonna be done soon now that our month ends are closer to being done. How will that, once those are done, how will that affect these numbers?
So I'm not 100% sure. I just know that transferred amount have to be reassessed based on the valuations. So
I'll try to get some of that information tomorrow
Okay,
and try to figure out some of that, get an
Okay.
answer to that.
so, because that could affect these significantly because they're not accounted for.
100%. And
Okay,
that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. Like when you look at these numbers, don't get super excited.
yeah, I
This-
know.
this is-
I was a little surprised. I'm like, oh, we've never looked this good.
Well,
So,
there's going to be more expenses that have to be included. So
Okay.
It's just inevitable.
okay,
Because you can look at the previous years on there as well and kind of see where we were in the past to get an idea of how we trend with some of that stuff.
okay. All right, so that's something we need to account for because those numbers are big.
Yes.
They're big. Okay. So, what are your thoughts? Both your thoughts. What do you guys think?
What's your question?
Oh, what do you think about the numbers? What do you think about the budget? What do you think we should we put in for the maximum
It
allowed?
has to be done the 5th, right? Okay. So if we leave it at the 3.33143 and the rural basic that would be maybe wise to leave it at that. Once we crunch, we could lower it, but this would be a printable amount. This would be the
But that would be that would be the maximum allowed.
Yeah,
And
that would make us safe. We can't cut ourselves so low we can't
so
function.
we're not cutting ourselves that low, I don't think, Diane, because they mentioned in Friday how we do have new construction, we do have new growth. So even if we stay at the same amount collected as last year, taxpayers will still see a slight cut because we're gonna be offset by new construction. And that's what I'd like to see, is that's what they've been asking for us for a long time.
But you two crunching numbers are suggesting this.
They're just giving us the numbers. We are the ones
I
that make
don't
a
know, but
decision.
if we do this, we're safe to publish it as this.
I would suggest that
Yes.
you do that lower rate
Right.
that is putting into consideration the
Yeah.
growth.
Yeah,
Because unfortunately, with cutting taxes and assessed value, there's no guarantee that everybody's taxes will ever be cut. Because if you put a new garage on your property, obviously that changes your assessed value. Can't guarantee your taxes are gonna go down. But when you look at that lower levy rate and the increased dollars that are coming into the county, I think starting there, as we get this more settled, then you can say, X, Y.
So I have a question, and I don't know if the number I got from the department management has changed or not, but based on that, the most we can raise it is $185,000. Has that changed?
I don't know for sure. So the numbers that I ran was off of our valuations and stuff like that.
Okay.
So
they told me 185,000 was the maximum. But when I look at your numbers here, the tax increase is $420,954. So that's what I'm trying to figure out where that is, that discrepancy is.
I think Mike Hackett and I discussed, that we thought we'd have an increase in revenue around 400. Is that close?
I don't know.
It's just that we were just trying to mess
Yeah,
up
sure,
with the
just
growth.
factor some of those.
With the growth is all.
I'm just going by what the department management sent me, and they reconfirmed. And I haven't talked to him since I forwarded you the email, but based on that, we are limited to $185,000 and change between the two funds. So,
So, the numbers that I pull off are from the Iowa Department of Management and the property evaluations, so.
mhm.
And that's how you have to factor all of these levy rates and stuff like that. So that is what I used, and what has been used previously to factor all of those things.
Did you look at what I forwarded you from them? What did you think about what they said?
I had a lot of emails to look at.
I'm sorry. I know you both have. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page here. Because I'm assuming when they crunch the numbers for me, they use the same numbers you did. So that's why I'm a little leery about the difference.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Because in this proposed 2025 budget, is that at the,
The 2025, 2026, yeah.
is that at the 3.33? Or is that the 3.39? Which levy rate is,
Last year's,
okay,
is that what you're asking? I'm sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, so that would have been at the 3.39806.
So 2024-25 is at last year's, the was number that you gave us, 3.39. But then the 2025-2026 on this report, is that referencing the lower amount, the 3.33?
Correct, yes.
Okay,
Because like I said, when I tried to use that old levy rate, the system gave me an error.
Because of
Yeah,
your
because-
growth.
Because we
yeah.
couldn't.
So
Yeah.
it wasn't allowable.
Yes.
So you figured this 2025 at that lower level, 3.33, okay.
So that's what I'm trying to figure out, where the discrepancy is. And then we just need to decide, do we want our maximum to be a tax increase, or do we want to collect the same as last year and try to lower taxes?
well, as I stated Friday, I struggle without having all the data, but I've reflected a lot, and I want to try to make it happen at last year's. I want people to end up with a savings when it's all said and done. I think it's,
And then just work the next month and a half to figure out how we're gonna do it?
Then are you prepared the next year if your rates, your general and rural, if those amounts are too low, are you prepared then to put the levy rate back up? Because we did that one year, right?
Yes, we
lowered the
did.
levy rate and the next year we had to swing again, right?
yeah.
But we won't be able to swing as high as we did that one year.
Sure,
True,
but even swinging.
Still a swing.
Yeah, and if the legislature does what they're talking about doing, the biggest swing we'll have is 2%.
It's just something to think about.
So, we had a lot of unhappy people last couple of years, and I would like to accommodate their request.
That was the number one complaint. Hundreds of doors I knocked, and it's taxes, lower my taxes. And it was the number one complaint.
So, so correct me if I'm wrong, ladies, we can still work on this. You just need a number to give the Department of Management.
It is
Okay. You don't need the whole kit and caboodle, you just need
You just
the
need your
numbers.
levy rate.
the collected amount of taxes and or the levy rate. Okay. Well, you guys know my thoughts. I would like to stay at the same and try to knock out ways to get there. So at the minimum, they're not seeing an increase, and hopefully get a decrease if we can make it work.
So you're gonna go to last year's.
Collect the same amount of taxes. I think it was 9.1 million. Well, 9.11
I think
million.
you should discuss what theoretical cuts you would make then. I think people need to be prepared for that. I think that would affect choices. Like if you have to cut $200,000 from the budget, where are you cutting that from?
I agree, we're gonna have to figure that out in the next month and a half.
Well, I think that you probably should discuss it before you even go into that, because if you say you're doing this dollar amount and this levy rate, you're gonna have to make those choices. And I think
Well, right now, the maximum we can increase our taxes is $185,000. That's not a lot. You figure $100,000 we're gonna have to budget for the forensic audit, assuming it actually costs that, it doesn't cost more. We have to budget for the clawback of the grant if we can't, if the feds don't agree to honor, the late reporting. I'm hoping they do, considering they were part of the problem when we froze the system. But we have to budget for that. So you're at $160,000 already of our $185,000 increase that we're allowed.
yes, but your decreases, so like the 200,000 for the ambulance, there you go, you're still 40,000 there.
Home health care, 230.
Yeah.
ARPA, 50.
Right, but again, we want to lower taxes. And so we shouldn't be taking these cuts as an excuse to spend more. So you're gonna need another ambulance someday,
Sooner or later.
right? So, we're gonna need to have that in the budget eventually. And I think that if we explain to the voters that, we need an ambulance, we're adding $200,000 to the budget, we can explain that, I think they would be okay with a tax increase that year to get you a new ambulance.
New ambulances now are roughly 400,000.
Okay, thank you.
No
So,
problem. Anything I do
appreciate the
that. Anything I do
clarification.
to help.
So at this point though, we have had a lot of people telling me, telling you, that they are desperate. They're being taxed out of their homes. They are struggling to make ends meet. Insurances have gone up for everybody. I know ours just went up $1,000, my insurance. So, and I live in a very old house, so I can only imagine what other people's insurance is doing. People are hurting, and we need, as government, we need to tighten our belt. So I think we can do it. I think we can do it. I think we can do it for the same amount of money we did last year. So I would like to do that and show our taxpayers that we're listening to what they're asking us to do. So,
I agree. I grappled with this and what this would look like. And yeah, we're gonna have some hard choices and we're gonna have some hard decisions. I have a few thoughts and ideas and we can work through those, as a board. Which direction we go to work smarter and leaner. But we gotta start somewhere. And if we can tell people we at least held while we, work through the next year, right? And I would hope, I think it's a travesty that our budget process was not started in November, as is typically done, and we are months behind. I think it's a travesty that we don't have this data all the data to make this decision. But I know what the promise was that I made to the voters in Madison County. And that was to try my best to reduce their taxes. So I agree with you, Heather, and that's how I'm gonna vote.
okay, so I think you have consensus, Terry, that we hold.
Has your perspective changed, Diane? Because I'm open to hearing that.
No.
Okay.
I just assumed, I apologize, I just assumed it didn't change, so. So Terry, I think you have direction. Hold, not the levy rate, the amount of money,
Yeah.
yes.
Could you just then restate that for the minutes?
Okay, so, Terry, we are directing you to, when you work with the Department of Management, that we do not tax more, collect any more taxes than we did last year. Which was like, I think, I don't have it in front of me, but it was like
Was that that number?
9.1.
9.1,
I don't have a
hold on, let me see. Hold on, I think I sent it to you guys in an email real quick, bear with me.
So you're gonna freeze the same as last year.
Correct. So, all right. So the tax notice for last year was for the general services levy, what the proposed tax was $6,186,000. $137,075. For the rural levy, it was $2,974,455. That was the tax notice. Now, I know we lowered it after that. So the total amount that we actually taxed on, and Emily, maybe you can clarify how this works for me. So I know after we sent the tax notices out last year, we went back in and lowered it before we actually approved the budget. So how would I know? Because the only thing I have total here is the tax levied on property with both those funds, which was $9,111,530. How do we figure out which of that is the general, which is the rural?
I don't know off the top of my head how to do that.
Okay.
So we're looking to, as far as 9,111,530.
Correct.
As far as the combination of what's
The
going on.
combination of what's going out. So we'll have to figure out how that works for the tax notice. Because I know the tax notice was higher than what we actually ended up approving as a budget last year. So we don't want to use those numbers. We want to use the actual number that we did for the budget, which was the 9.1 million. So if we can figure that out and then give that amount to, so Terry has it when she uploads it. I don't know where we would do that. Would that be on the budget summary that we got? How would we find that out, Emily? Okay. Okay. Well, I figure you guys can figure it out. So, but that's the direction of the board, is not to tax any more than that. So you've got that number, Terry? Okay. All right. Okay. So on these budget sheets, Emily, sometimes it says, certain amounts going to general, certain amounts going to rural. Is it safe to say the ones that don't have a subsection of rural, that all that money is going to general?
Yeah, so general is always 1,000, and is general supplemental is always 2,000.
Ah, okay.
Rural is 11,000. So if you look at the sheet I gave you,
Yep.
it has those numbers right
Ah,
here.
I see.
So as
Okay.
you're going through the budget, you
Okay.
can see.
So then we know which is which.
Yes.
Okay, all right, thanks for that clarification. Okay. All right. So, were there anything else that we needed to discuss?
Now, Emily, if the fund balance drops too low, then secondary roads can't get matching funds, is that correct? They have to keep,
I don't know enough about secondary roads as budget.
I think our fund balance have to stay to a certain point, or they.
I think that's why we have to stay at 20%.
Yes,
So we have the cash flow for secondary roads transfers. Okay, so that hopefully, once that's resolved, we'll have a better fund balance idea, and then we can figure out how to get there.
Can I assume that if you're not at the numbers you want, the first thing you take out are any wages that aren't related to a
Union contract.
position?
Yeah.
Sorry,
That's okay.
based on any negotiated wages that we can't break from.
Yes, thank you, yes.
so you're gonna take out all wages that,
Well, no, we won't take the wages, we'll take the
raise,
raises.
the raise.
Yes. So, because we want to do that before we cut positions.
Thought about what positions you would cut or where you would go for that? I mean, I would think you'd almost pick off part-timers first, because that's.
Well, we probably pick up part-timers or probably roles that have not been filled. Like, for instance, we talked about at our last meeting, the treasurer's office has had a part-time person that has been
That's
out. That's gone now.
Yeah, she
Okay,
took it.
that's gone. So, we'd probably look at seeing if there's any places we can make cuts, like maybe the vehicle for the sheriff. I'm not saying that's what I wanna do.
Sure.
But we'd have to go line by line and figure out what we're doing.
The part-time seasonal is still up there.
We
in
can
the
remove
treasure.
that.
No,
That's still on there.
that's still on there, because she wanted a full-time, part-time, and that's been taken out, but the part-time seasonal that is currently filled, I
Okay,
left it.
I see,
Is that
okay,
yes?
okay. So we'll have to talk about that. So once the secondary roads transfers are done and in the budget, we'll have to see what removing any kind of increases would do to the budget. And then only then would we look at removing positions. But that would be a consensus of the board.
I think that's all debatable, all of that, because. Is somebody
Okay.
speaking?
Can you please mute your phone? Thank you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Because we may have a scenario where, say we have a department that says, you know what? Maybe I can forego a part-time position, but I wanna give my people raises. If I can help make it happen, I mean, they need to be able to collaborate with us and come up with some ideas, so.
Okay.
My suggestion is we set our next time to actually talk about specific things once we have more data and we know what our shortfall is. But then all three of us in the meantime could be working with department heads and talking with them about, you know, we are gonna have to make tough decisions. But I don't think it's a across the county solution. I think we need to
Okay.
take it case by case, department by department.
Okay,
I
that's
do
fair.
too, Jess, I
Okay.
agree. I think like we have offices that run really, really smooth. They've been there forever. I think
And we
they
need
should
to try
be
to not
rewarded.
penalize them if they're
Right.
running efficiently and,
Yeah.
but if there's ways that they can help, great. But at this point, we don't know, is it 5%, is it 10%? We don't know the order of magnitude. But I just wanna be open to, being creative for what specific needs are for each, you know, each
Or if
group.
there's ways to make them more efficient.
Well,
You know,
I
like
agree
Either
with
by
you.
a new system or something like that to where,
Yeah,
so if they're paying somebody to do something, can we do it in-house cheaper? Or something like that, you know, if we spend, you know, if there's, I can't speak to it because I don't know what each office does, but if there's a system out there that they could purchase that would make it more efficient and reduce costs in another area, that's something that we can rely on.
yeah,
them to
and
do.
that's my intention, is to understand and work with department heads and understand how they do things. Because I don't understand the processes. You know, for example, you know, the challenges in the treasurer's office, how did the process and the checks and balances not catch that, those issues? So I think there's a lot to learn, you know, for all of us, but I don't wanna say carte blanche, oh, nobody's getting raises, well, we don't know, I don't know that we're there yet. Cause if they help and they're efficient in other areas and they help pay for it by making some changes, okay, great.
Okay.
Does
Well,
that
you-
sound reasonable to you ladies?
You
Okay.
have offices that they've been here 18, 20 years, and I think they do live very tight and they are incredibly efficient. And I love to give people raises on merit and that they do a really good job and they do everything they can in-house because it's cheaper. So I agree with you. I think that it's to give these offices that do a great job.
I don't think, Diane, I don't think that anyone, including the public, wants to begrudge people raises. The issue is that the last 2 years, there's been very high raises, and the public has not been happy about that. And by saying that because we don't want to give raises or we don't give high raises, therefore we're devaluing what they do in their job, that's not a fair assessment. Because there's plenty of people, I mean, I know people in the state that work for the state that they never got raises, or they got 1%.
I didn't
It
get
doesn't,
raises.
it doesn't mean that their work is not valued, it is, it's just,
Well, and I
You
think, I think pointing out to give or not to give raises, that's a good first step because we haven't given it. It's not taking something away. So that makes it easier to not do than say back off and you can't give people cuts in pay, right? So it's
Right.
just, it's a low hanging fruit, and given the history with some much bigger than average raises, let's rebalance, but I'm not saying I'm against any raises. I think there are cases where it makes sense. But I think we need to make sure we're not painting a broad brush, you know, solution to every single department because they're all unique. And what their needs are.
Okay.
So,
well, that's gonna be our task the next month. just to figure that out. So we're meeting the request of the people, the public, and now we need to figure out how we can make it work on our side. So,
My question is, do we wanna try to get another meeting squeezed in before Emily's gone to?
well, I would,
Emily's not gonna have any more time to work on the
Okay.
budget, she has to do a handful of other things before.
yes.
No
So
problem.
I think for this week, we've gotten, maybe you can figure out with her which pot to put that in, or maybe work with department management and figure out which pot to put that in. But to your point, though, I think we should, as a board, have another meeting, because Michelle brought up a good point about how we're changing, how our meetings are gonna go.
Yeah.
So we should probably, I would like to have another meeting to kind of review our policies, rules of procedure for our meeting, kind of hash that out. Maybe do a special meeting to where we can maybe do a resolution, make the decision there, so we're not having another meeting to have another meeting. So I would like to do that, if you two are amenable to that, because I want to get that out there and done, so we can move forward on that.
And then do you want to also, maybe under that same veil, figure out when and where the board clerk is, what that looks like for me, whether I'm going to lose my job and have to reapply
Well,
as a
that,
second deputy. I know that's July 1st, but
that's a,
again,
I think that's a later thing to discuss, and that's probably something you need to discuss with Terry, not with us.
But it needs.
But
budgeting.
it's part of the budget. It's all the budget's taken care of. So, but I would like to have a meeting regarding an excellent point Michelle made to us as a group in an email, that we probably need to reevaluate our rules of procedure and get that taken care of, and get that done. So I don't know what your ladies' schedule is.
Well, we have another meeting Tuesday, right? So are you thinking squeezing something in, or you,
Not
I'm
this,
thinking squeezing something in, something this week.
this Tuesday is not a regular meeting.
next Tuesday, I'm sorry.
the 11th.
I meant, yeah, the
You
next
meant the
Tuesday.
11th?
Yeah, so not tomorrow, but, and I know, so maybe Wednesday or Thursday or
We're
even
supposed to have
Friday.
really bad weather, think about that.
Okay,
You're looking at this, you're trying to do something before next Tuesday. Okay.
correct. Correct.
Well, now, does this work for you guys?
Well, she doesn't need to be
Don't
here.
have to be there.
They don't need to be here. They're gonna have their hands full with budget stuff.
It's Thursday the 6th.
Either Thursday the 6th, or we can do Wednesday. What does your schedule look like, Jess?
Thursday or Friday are better.
Thursday or Friday? I'm gonna check real quick, doctor's appointments.
Not for discussion right this second, but I'm just gonna say it out loud before you guys move budget board supervisors meetings and stuff like that. We're gonna need to definitely speak with secondary roads, cause they send stuff over to us. And obviously claims get paid, and it's second and fourth Tuesday of every month, so that reframes the structure to that whole system.
Okay,
So that will have to be thought about and addressed, so that.
so
all
is it just with
department heads are
secondary
aware.
roads?
Well,
Is
it's-
like the main one, or?
So they do their own claims and they send me a file essentially. And
Okay.
I know some of, they're just in their own little bubble because they have a lot of different unique things,
Yeah.
but all the other department heads, they send all their claims to me by noon the Friday before. So and it's always, second and fourth Tuesday, blah, blah, blah. So if you change that, that is just gonna have to be addressed and
To the
clearly
department.
stated with all of your.
So the second and fourth Tuesdays were probably set up a long time ago because it worked better for paying claims and
Well,
in-house.
there for a while, we were, this was before my time, but there was a meeting every Tuesday, correct?
Yep.
Yes,
Okay.
when I very first started, but they lasted like 10 minutes.
And so I don't know when it changed or what prompted all of that or anything like that, but
Well, we had such a short agenda that it was kind of a waste of time, so we went to the second and fourth, and it worked better for claims and in-house, and that's why
well, doing claims weekly would sound like a lot, so.
Yeah.
Either way,
it
just,
was.
that's
So-
something that needs to be thought about when you're making the changes.
Okay.
And it could be, Diane, it's second and fourth Tuesdays worked best for the board at that point, way back when. And they just kept doing the
Well, I
same
think
thing
it
over and
works
over.
good for the staff. What works for me is unimportant, it's what works to make it
Well, we'll have to
easier.
find out if that will require a major adjustment for our department heads. I don't think so, because if we were doing it every week, it it does, I don't know if it matters if it's the first or
It
third, or
wasn't
if it's the second
efficient,
or
is why
fourth.
we quit doing it.
Yeah.
Just it wasn't efficient.
So there's
we
a timing
changed.
factor on when claims are submitted and paid. I don't understand why we can't just submit a week earlier what we have, and then the next time we submit.
Sure, so when I'm doing claims, I like them to get to me as fast as they can, so I can just enter them as they go. But I have that cutoff because I have to do some reconciliation before I process them through the system, ensuring everything is, if I have 100,000 claims, that's what my file says and all of that stuff. And then, obviously, I can't print checks or do any of that until you guys approve them on that board agenda. So whenever you decide to do that, so Tuesdays at 11 is usually my plain printing time, because you've approved it at that point, so getting this out the door is fast.
So if we start this in April, the first Tuesday in April is April 1st. So, and then,
And it's a public hearing that night.
and that's a public hearing that night too. So then the third would be April 15th. So if we shift this, that means the department heads would have to get you claims by Wednesday, March 26th?
Just the Friday.
Oh, the Friday.
Friday
So
the 28th.
Friday, March 28th. Am I understanding that correctly? Okay, all right. So we would just have to shift it a week. And to your point though, I don't know if that will mess up any kind of payment for, maybe there might be contracts that are due or something like that. So we'll have
Right.
to review that.
Yes.
Okay.
What's the reason for changing meetings? I mean, what's behind this?
Because we were gonna add a third meeting. So if we did that and we kept the current schedule, then that third meeting, we were looking at the fourth Monday of the month, then it would be immediately around that second meeting. So we're kind of,
Didn't
we're
you
not
do
spreading it out.
Didn't you do an evaluation based on all of our different board meetings and commitments and figuring out which day would work best based on all the different boards we all have in the evening? Figure out what the best evening meeting was?
That's correct.
And that's how you determined
It was the fourth Monday, that's how we came up with the fourth Monday.
Okay,
It was the least disruptive to the other board meetings
okay.
and things.
So by default then, you said, if we still did the second and fourth Tuesday of the month, then on that last week, we're gonna have,
A Monday and then a Tuesday meeting.
right. So that's why she wanted to move, she suggested the first and third to shift it. So, we'll have to your point, Emily, we'll have to review that.
Yeah, you could talk about it at a meeting and all that stuff. So
Okay.
just-
Diane, would you rather move one of the do the Tuesday meetings we have now and just move those to nights?
Tuesday meetings at night?
Mhm.
No.
Okay.
I
Would
don't
you
want
rather
night
move
meetings.
one of them?
One is fine. I haven't argued. I was just curious why we needed the change, but I don't.
I
You
mean-
want a night meeting? I've already said I'll do a night meeting.
Well, I'm trying to understand if you would rather just keep the same Tuesday schedules, but move it to night, but I don't know if that would work either, given the other board meetings and other conflicts.
Well,
I think night meetings
Matura is usually the fourth Tuesday of the month. So I think that's why you said that would be good, if we did the fourth Tuesday. But we didn't wanna do the second Tuesday of the month in the evening because of claims. Because we wanted, correct me if I'm wrong, the first Tuesday of the month is the best to do all the claims, or was there a reason why? I can't recall what we talked about. Okay.
Why, the first Tuesday?
If we move this, because right now we're second and fourth Tuesdays. If we move the second Tuesday to an evening meeting rather than a day meeting, or something, if I recall, is that usually that first Tuesday is when all the department heads do presentations and stuff like that. And that's why we were trying to accommodate them by not having that being evening meeting. Because I'm fine staying the way it is, just moving one in the evening. I think that would be easier. But rather than trying to shift everything, because then we don't have to shift when we do claims, we don't have to shift everything else, but
I'm fine with that, I just want an evening meeting for our citizens. They've made that clear to me too, you know? And it is in Iowa code that we make them convenient for the citizens.
And I didn't bring it up right now for you guys to have the debate on it, I just wanted you guys to be aware to think about that when
No,
you
no-
sit and have the debate of it, because it's just.
Plus it's already
Budget
prepared as
session,
an
so,
agenda.
Yeah.
Okay.
Item,
Just
Yeah.
a caveat.
there's a
So-
resolution ready to go.
So,
So, no, and I appreciate you bringing that up because we need to talk about that. So we can talk about it more on Tuesday.
that's fine.
But either way, I think we should probably have a meeting to discuss our rules of procedure.
I agree.
So,
I was going through that and it's, to me, can be further defined, maybe what our board policy is.
yeah.
on some
So on Thursday, the sixth, mornings actually work best for me because there's doctor's appointments in the afternoon.
things. I could do,
Wednesday, I don't have anything personal on Wednesday.
How about Thursday at 7:30, Jess, does that work for you?
Like in the morning?
no, I take my kids to school on Thursday morning, so, it would have to be 8:30.
That's all right with
I
me.
can do 8:30 if that works for you.
Does that work for you, Michelle?
Um,
Michelle, does that work for you? Well, it does
okay.
matter.
And Wednesday I'm completely open. I don't have anything except in the evening on Wednesday, so that works too.
I'm not available, but you don't need that.
You're not on Wednesday, but you were on Thursday, right?
Thursday at 8:30.
Yeah, that works for you. Okay, that works for me.
Okay,
Work
I
for you
do have
too?
another meeting at 9:30, but it's a conference call. I don't have to attend it. I mean, I don't have to attend it in person, so I can jump on it.
So we're gonna do budgets Thursday, or no, what are you calling
What is
this?
this meeting?
It's gonna be, if we wanna give direction for change, we should probably make it a special meeting.
It's not necessary.
And how much,
My point, can I just interject?
yes,
So it would be to be a review and you decide on the changes. I type the changes and then you're going to have a resolution on the 11th.
at your regular meeting.
At
But
the
if we
regular
wanna
meeting.
implement it on the 11th, we have to pass it before that.
Yeah, but
correct.
you don't wanna start,
I'm just asking, correct?
I'm just saying that, to do a draft and get it into resolution between today and Thursday, unless I don't see that happening. I work Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays.
Okay,
And I've been coming in extra for the budgets, don't mind,
okay.
but what is the hurry?
so if we go 8:30 on Thursday and just discuss these
As a work
items,
session,
then you could have them ready for a regular meeting. Is it- okay.
attached to a
Yes.
resolution changing it,
Yes.
if that makes sense to you, Jess.
On your
and to
regular
Heather.
meeting.
Okay, it does. I had a couple members of the public ask me about that,
About what?
about the structure of our meetings.
We're not really following the structures of our meetings right now.
Well, we are in a certain extent. So I want to find out what's missing, what needs to be improved, because some members of the public shared some concerns with me. So we don't necessarily have to talk about it here, but,
So Thursday, we're gonna talk about,
how to revamp the structure and
The
rules of
schedule.
procedure
and the board policy.
and the board policy for meetings, yes.
Are we going to review budget stuff? Probably not.
Probably
They
not.
said
Okay.
no.
Okay.
But we will be having more budget meetings coming up, because we're gonna need to figure out how to make the numbers work.
But so March 5th,
That's Wednesday.
Wednesday.
yeah, but you're going to put that in the paper if the old budget is on March 5th, correct? Okay, so then.
Well, yeah, we have to publish it, for the tax notice.
Yes.
Okay, so that has to, if the meeting for that is April 1st, it can't be sooner than.
Can't be
can't be
less than
soon-
10 days and not more than 20.
Okay, so we'll have to figure out how that works with the Madisonian and the Echo on when we publish that. So, okay. Okay. All right,
And I do have a clarifying question about the resolution for the meetings. That is in place to go first and third. Do you want to rewrite it before? I mean, is that going to be part of your discussion as well on Thursday so that might not be the resolution?
correct, yes. Because if we can come to a consensus on keeping it the 2 days and just moving it one evening. I think that would probably be preferable, but, the reason why we decided on the 3 is one, to give an extra day, and 2, to accommodate an evening meeting and still give department heads 2-day meetings, so they don't have to attend, they don't feel obligated to attend one of the evening meetings.
So you would entertain keeping it the 2nd and 4th, but having the 4th on the 9th?
Having the 4th on the night or the 1st on the night?
I don't care, and just keep them the 2nd and 4th, but have one at night?
That'd be all right. Do you,
I'm fine with that, but the reality is, we got a lot of stuff to work on, right?
This
And-
gets better after you get done with this.
Well,
Honest,
and-
it gets better.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we could warrant a weekly meeting now, but hopefully we get some things established. And we get some things sorted out and we can get it consolidated and condensed, right?
Yeah.
That would be the hope. So I'm fine if we keep it at 2 meetings. I mean, there's,
would you be willing then, because you have the master spreadsheet, would you go back and look on the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays to see what's in conflict on those? So we know, I know for sure the 4th is an attorney meeting. 4th
Okay.
Tuesday is an attorney meeting. But it's not every month, it's every odd month.
Tuesday nights are basketball games, is that correct? You always.
most of the board and council meetings are Mondays and Tuesday nights.
But then you have people, you have school stuff.
And they're Mondays.
There's
and-
always gonna
yeah,
be school stuff.
most of them on Mondays.
Yeah.
The school boards.
Well, I mean,
Like
activities.
sports.
Yeah, sports
Oh.
for these people.
The only night we typically don't have sports is Wednesday night, and then that's church night,
That's
and then
church. I
that
don't wanna have
conflicts,
church
so I
I'm
don't
not
wanna do
good.
that either.
Because this is coming up on Easter, a lot of people do that.
Okay, would you mind doing that
Yeah.
research and coming back with us and letting us know, what the reality is if we still do
Yeah,
we
if
do
we just
that?
kept with 2 and granted, it might be a little longer, but if we could keep them 2, keep them consolidated, and then just move one to evening.
And
would
whichever
fit?
one that we keep during the day, we just make sure that the department heads know, so then they can do their presentations and anything they need to do with the board, so they don't feel obligated to come to the evening meeting.
Well, the department heads might have a preference on if it's the 2nd or the 4th
Right.
too, regarding those claims and stuff, right? I mean, that may matter, I mean.
Can you do a survey with your department heads? Just do that monkey survey and see what they think. That might make it easier.
Well, they would only have a need to come to our meetings if there's something on the agenda or they're doing a presentation. They don't necessarily have to come to our meetings every meeting.
Really, Mike's gonna be
Correct.
the main impacted, right? I know he's off today, so I'll try calling him.
He's not back yet. I don't think until later.
Yeah, he's off I had him off today.
Yeah,
He's
he'll-
flying back.
Yeah, I talked to him, he's actually gonna be back, because we have our Bridge Preservation Association meeting tonight, so.
All right, so we're gonna go Tuesday at 8:30.
Tuesday,
That's the 6th. Just
No.
Thursday,
This
I meant
Thursday, the
Thursday.
6th.
Okay.
Thursday the 6th at 8:30, and that's
8:30.
reviewing items and this board structure and board policy,
Right.
okay?
so, and then, just so you guys know, I probably will not be in the office on Thursday afternoon, because I'll be handling some personal medical stuff. So,
Good to know, so I can go in.
yes, if you wanna take that time.
Yeah,
I
that'd be
work from
great.
always Thursdays from like 7 until noon, so.
okay.
So, yeah, you can have the afternoon if you wanna do that. Okay, so 8:30 on March 6th. Do we wanna make it a, special, or do you wanna do a work session, just a work session?
Work session.
Work session, yeah.
Okay, all right. Michelle? Got it? Okay. All right. Terry, Emily, anything else that we need to know, that we need to discuss, or? Nope. Okay. Thanks for all your hard work on this, Emily. I know it's been crazy, so I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And Terry, I look forward to seeing what you come back with. And finding out about secondary roads transfers. We need to kind of get that
Yep,
wrapped
I
up.
got that. I'll
Okay.
see what all that looks like and.
Yeah. And probably talk to Mike about that too. Yeah. All right, well, if there's nothing else for the group, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second?
All right, all in favor, please vote aye. Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.